celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
I've always told you pigs are smarter than humans. Well, this lady says that they're pretty smart.
Yeah, I wonder if they're smarter than dogs.
Coming up in today's show, Dr. Lori Marino says that your pig, if you happen to have a pig, could be smarter than your dog, could be smarter than...
a monkey.
A monkey? Really?
Wow.
This might change my bacon on Sundays. The way I think about breakfast.
How?
Well, I'm just saying.
I hope it does.
People say that pigs are not smart. They are smart, and we'll find out in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. That should be enough for you to stick around, right? Plus, we'll be answering your calls. Dr. Debbie and dog father Joey Villani and Lori Brooks working hard in the newsroom. What are we going to find out today?
Talking about, two of my favorite subjects, pets and money.
Pets and money.
Yeah, pets that are wealthy, or pets, let's say, that make their owners wealthy. We'll tell you who some of the wealthiest are coming up.
Oh, do you remember Trump's dog? Not Trump's dog. Ivana Trump's dog. Was it Ivana?
No, it was, what was it?
The landlady, the New York landlady who...
all the hotels.
Oh, yes. Her. That's her, yes. Leona Helmsley?
There you go.
Ding, 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 ding. Very
Thank you.
Yeah, she left her dog Trouble, all that cash, all that money, a big estate. I wonder if she's in this list that you're going to list off later on. Some of the wealthiest dogs on the way. And cats here on Animal Radio. Hey, Gary, how are you doing?
Hi, how you doing today?
Good. Where are you calling from?
From Santa Maria, California.
Oh, yeah, listening on KSMX, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, how are you doing? How can we help you today?
Well, a couple questions. She, actually, when I play with her, she has a tendency to nip.
What, are we talking about a dog?
Yeah, a puppy.
What kind of?
Not in a mean way, but she's a 5-month-old German Shepherd puppy. And,
okay. So she's just a little baby then.
Yeah, she'll, nip me in the thighs and the arms.
Okay, so when you're playing with her, she's nipping you in the thighs and the arms. What kind of play are you doing with her at that time?
Just with a ball. I'll play with the ball. I'll play ball with her. And when she comes back, she'll, go like that. And she'll, nip me in the thigh. Okay,
so she brings the ball to you, and then is that when she bites you?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what do you do? Do you keep on playing when she does this, or what's happening? Are you getting excited? What?
No, I don't get excited. I don't get mad at her. I don't get excited with her or anything like that. I don't scold her or anything like that because I know she's just a puppy. And
okay. So you keep on playing then when she does that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've got a young puppy
here. She
here.
plays my mom in the arms sometimes when she plays in the legs.
Okay. So we have a young puppy with a lot of energy, and it's certainly good to do some play activities where we can give them an outlet to burn off some of that energy. What we do have to watch for is for these negative behaviors. So nipping is a normal puppy behavior, but this is in the wrong context. So this is an inappropriate situation, and we need to show her and teach her what we do want her to do at that time. Now, you reference back to how she was raised with other dogs. So dogs do learn what we call bite inhibition, and they learn it best from their litter mates. So other animals of their age and size, as they're growing up in a litter, when they're playing, if you watch puppies play, they'll nibble, they'll play, and then all of a sudden you'll hear, "Ah!" and then they stop. And everyone kind of stares around like, oh, okay. Yeah. The line was crossed, and they tell each other in that manner. And then they move on. So in some ways, for a young puppy, they need to know that boundary. If they haven't learned that through their siblings or through play with other adult dogs that teach them that line not to cross, then we have a dog that doesn't know when it's appropriate to bite. Now, we may have also, in your pup's case, a little bit of excitement eliciting this. So as we're playing, if she's getting more worked up and excited, it just kind of comes out. And that's where we would need to recognize when that bite, that nip is about to happen. So that's your job, is to figure out, okay, we play ball for 5 passes, and then I usually get bit. So that's when you would need to say, okay, we're going to cease play at this time before this happens. And also watching her overall excitement level. If she gets too amped up playing ball, which is a high prey drive type game, it's basically, having an animal chase something is within their prey instinct. So if she's getting too worked up, we might say, okay, we'll just play ball for a little bit and then we'll move to something else. The other thing that you can do is to really make sure that you're really solid on her basic obedience skills. And at 5 months of age, she could be a student of obedience. And if you're not already in a puppy class, I definitely recommend it.
I just started a puppy class what would you say? We start 2 sessions.
Okay. So the most important thing that you and she will get out of obedience class is that she will learn the cues that you want her to perform a behavior, that you're going to ask her to do something, and you're going to reward her for those behaviors. And that's going to far be more valuable than giving any kind of negative correction in the time when she's nipping you. So that's what we really need to have a foundation of. Exactly. So we have to have a foundation of basic obedience skills first. So she needs to know how to come to you, how to do something calm like a down or a stay, and you need to make sure that's in your toolbox of dog training to start with. And then as far as knowing what her kind of level of activity, and there are some dogs that are so amped up playing ball, playing different games, that you have to almost wear them out before you do that. So that might mean playing at the park, it might mean going jogging, it might be doing something else that's going to wear her down first. Because if you do have a dog with a lot of energy, these bad behaviors, they just kind of slip into everyday life, and it's very easy. So I would ask you to kind of find those opportunities when you are playing ball to not every time keep throwing the ball. Have her come back and ask her to do a sit or a down and pull out a treat out of your back pocket. And then you pull a treat out of your back pocket and you reward her.
Because we both work with her. So here's my mom.
Okay. All right. So we need
nice of you to call.
Well, super. Yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to stay on the line with you because I can't keep hopping back and forth. We're on live radio here. So what we were just talking about is we're going to be working on giving her, a reward for calm, quiet behavior. So in the time that she's playing or even around the house, we want to get her into a down or a stay and reward her with a really delicious dog treat or even maybe a little piece of cheese, and find those opportunities when she is calm and quiet. And that's what we want to reward. If she starts to get amped up playing with the ball or playing in some other manner and you see the nipping coming out, you've gone too far, and you need to make sure you cease that behavior and that play before she gets to that point. Because you can't really teach a dog when they're in an excited state. It's just comprehension doesn't get through there.
It is. I'm telling you, it's been tough. Nobody knows. I've had a lot of dogs, but this is tough.
Hey, you're talking to people I've had a hyper dog. I've had 2 Labradors. So, energy is not uncommon. What we need to do as pet parents is we need to find the outlets for them to expend that so it doesn't turn into an unwanted behavior. So we need to really get this baby, get her leash trained so you can do leash walking. Really, I'd work on those kind of things. That's going to get you so far with her.
Okay. So. All right. Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
I've seen in PetSmart, sometimes it's like a little thing that goes around them, and it's called a calming type little appliance.
Like an anxiety wrap?
Yes, for an anxiety wrap. Are those any good?
For certain situations. They're good for pets that have anxiety and fear with things like noise phobia, car rides. It's not going to necessarily be the thing to try to calm down an energetic puppy. For a puppy, it's really all about wearing down their batteries because dogs don't have an off button, so you got to wear that battery down.
Right.
And there are some useful things that you may find for a young, kind of vigorous jumping puppy. Things like the head halters, which look like a horse's bridle that goes over their snout. That can be very effective for
her. And boy, does she fight it!
Well, I mean, you basically. Right. Well, you have to train and get them accustomed to that gradually. The last thing you want to do is put it on her and let her fly like a fish on a hook in the beginning, because that just sets up a pattern. So there's ways that with dogs, it's all about reward. So you have to make it worth their while. So if there's something you want her to do, you pull out the treats, you pull out the food, and that's how you get her to accept that. Don't try to wrestle her. Don't try to let her be a Bronco.
Oh, no. No, we don't.
Food is your friend.
Okay. I think that's what we got to do.
And
you have to put a pocket around my neck with dog food.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? I used to be resistant to this until I really learned the power of positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is only going to get you so far. You really need to make her motivated to work for you.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
And your son says that you're going to do some classes. You're going to do some puppy classes?
Yes, out at the animal shelter. They offer them, and we're in a group of just 5 people with their dog. She's putting in her 2 cents. And they seem to be good classes, and she performs very well out there.
Good.
She doesn't nip, she doesn't bite, and she'll sit. So I'm really impressed with that.
Well, good. Ask some of those trainers if you have some troubles to help you with that, and because they're there to help you and make sure that the transition between shelter and home is smooth and seamless, and that everyone's happy. Okay.
Hey, you've given me some good advice.
Take care of yourself today. Well, you lucky dog, don't forget you can get your fix of Animal Radio anytime you want with the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. Download it now. It's made possible by Fear-Free Happy Homes, helping your pets live their happiest, healthiest, fullest lives at home, at the vet, and everywhere in between. Visit them at fearfreehappyhomes.com. And thanks, Fear-Free, for underwriting Animal Radio.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
Hi, this is Paul Reiser, and you're listening to Animal Radio. Every minute you're here, you're not harming someone else. I don't know what that means. If it's usable, use it. Otherwise, cut it and get out.
Thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing. If you've written a book, they can help you through the process. Cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If they decide to publish your book, your work ends, theirs begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art. Plus, get your book printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, and in bookstores across the country. They even help promote your book. Biography, self-help, mystery, novels, sci-fi, or even a children's book. No matter what genre, Page Publishing can bring your book to life. And don't forget to ask about audiobooks. We do all of this for you. Call today for your free writer's guide packed with tips, tricks, and templates to help you finish what you started.
800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. That's 800-215-6815.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio. We're celebrating our connection with your pets. Please join in. Grab your pet right now and dial up. We'd love to hear from you. Joey Villani. Going to be talking about, and this is really weird. I don't even know if I'm reading this right. Joey, it says here you're going to be talking about hair that gets wrapped around teeth. So I know that's not right because we don't grow hair in our mouth.
That's correct.
That's correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it is. Sometimes the hair grows from right underneath the dog's muzzle or on top of their muzzle and grows up or down and right into the mouth and wraps around the tooth like a vine.
Jeez.
That is the weirdest thing. I've never heard of that before.
Me neither.
Okay, well, that's on the way. Hey, John, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where are you calling from?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. John, you are on with Dr. Debbie.
Well, hi there. How are you today?
Good. I have a yellow lab. He's around like 1 year, 2 months. He's scratching, and I rescued him from the pound about 6 months ago, and he had fleas when I got him. So I was wondering, I don't see any fleas. I was giving them Frontline, but I don't know if I should continue doing that or if there's something I maybe can give him a bath. And also, he sheds, so I've been feeding him, like supplementing his food with shed relief.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you had any suggestions.
Yeah, sure. Now, with the itching and scratching, does he have any areas where he's losing hair? Do you see any spots of irritation, anything like that?
No.
How often would you say he's itching?
He scratches probably like sometimes like 3 or 4 times in the evening. But it's a lot because a friend of mine noticed.
Okay. So is it enough that you want to get him off the bed and shut the door so you can get a good night's rest? Is he keeping you up with the scratching?
No, he's not keeping me up, but it seems like it's uncomfortable for him.
Okay. Well, definitely with a history of fleas and even being in an environment where you have fleas throughout the year, that would be definitely something I would work very hard at making sure that we treat that as fully as possible. Because one single flea can create the itch cycle for a long time. And especially for some animals who are allergic to that flea saliva, that makes that itch even worse for them. So I would continue with Frontline, but there's some simple things you can do. I would go to the lower back area right in front of the tail, and I would look for evidence of fleas, because if you've got fleas, that's going to be where I'm going to tell you to focus your efforts. And what you're going to be looking for is actually the little critters themselves, but also for basically flea poop, which looks like pepper. And if you see anything like that along his skin, and fleas kind of like that area in the lower back on dogs, then definitely I would go full guns after the fleas. And you may need to actually see your veterinarian for some other tips and tools, because there are other medications that we may use as well. But if right now I could stand there and look at your baby and say that there's no fleas and that's not playing a role, being a Labrador, they do tend to have, a lot of kind of allergic skin diseases. So things like supplements such as fatty acids can be helpful for mild allergies. May not stop the itch completely, but can help with just general dryness and improve the overall coat and be kind of a natural anti-inflammatory. And a young dog who itches also makes me think about the possibility of a food allergy. In very young Labradors, if I start to see them scratching and itching, and I'm not finding evidence of fleas or other types of critters, then I will definitely talk about getting them on a food that is designed for pets with allergies. Some of those may be based from different protein sources like duck, venison, but basically for some of these guys, they're just their skin's wired a little bit differently. We need to come at it a little differently. So I would definitely see about trying a food trial with a hypoallergenic food for him.
Okay. What is something good to maybe bathe him in? Is there something that you can do at home?
Yeah, for bathing, if there's nothing actively going on as far as an infection on the skin, a good general all-around kind of anti-itch shampoo is going to be something oatmeal-based. Doesn't have to be medicated, and we wouldn't want to use something medicated unless we actually have that problem present. So you can go over the counter, go to your favorite pet store or your veterinary office and get an oatmeal-based shampoo and even a conditioner. And a lot of the kind of leave-on conditioners can have a nice soothing effect for several days. It'll wear off, but it's something you can do at home to kind of make them feel better. It's kind of like a doggy Aveeno bath, if you will. So that might help make them a little bit more comfortable as well.
Okay.
So I'd say give that a whirl, John. And I'm a Labrador lover myself, and one of my little babies has a lot of skin-related problems. So I'm kind of always, he's one step ahead of me, and I'm always trying to catch up and treat that skin. So keep up every effort you can, and you'll get them there.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
Dogs or cats, horse or emu, animals are people too. A Canadian man now has to pick up his mail at the post office. Canada's postal system has stopped delivering his mail after a carrier was scared away from his door by what she described as a very threatening cat. John Samborski says his 8-year-old declawed black cat named Shadow is gentle and calls the whole situation ridiculous. He told the local paper that Shadow likes to eat, sleep, and cuddle. You could drop a bomb on him and he'd just open one eye, take a look, then close them and go back to sleep. A Canada Post spokeswoman said she hoped for an amicable solution to its dispute with the cat owner, but also added that the carrier who delivered the mail to the house was brought up on a farm and very comfortable with all animals, just not this cat. I'm Britt Savage for Animal Radio. Animals are people too. Animal Radio.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it.
800-385-6247. 800-385-6247. 800-385-6247. That's 800-385-6247.
This is an Animal Radio News Update.
I'm Lori Brooks. Hey, if you live near a zoo that has one of those awesome giant panda exhibits in it, that exhibit could be changing in the near future. Leasing of giant pandas to zoos by the Chinese research centers is going to become even more strict and regulated very soon. So in the future, zoos applying to borrow pandas from the Chinese will have to send their keepers and veterinarians to China for 3 months of training, and some special inspection teams on the other side will be sent out to those zoos to check on the pandas. A professor of wildlife protection at Peking University says in some zoos, visitors can even purchase time to interact with those giant pandas. And that, he says, is not only bad for the health of giant pandas, but also sends the wrong message because pandas are an endangered species. They are not pets. A new program in Louisiana is working to give hospice patients and their animal friends more peace. Beginning next month, Hospice of Acadiana will begin its new Pet Peace of Mind project. After receiving a $5,000 grant, the program is designed to help both the hospice patient and their family members who may be caring for the patient's pet to ensure that an animal is not going to be neglected or homeless after its owner passes away. Special hospice pet volunteers will be helping with arranging for pet placement through relationships with local rescue groups, pet daycare centers, and local veterinarians, too. And just like people, there are some really wealthy pets in the world. We're talking super duper rich here. The richest of them, probably not a shock to you, though. It is, drumroll, Grumpy the cat, who's, of course, no longer with us. It's estimated Grumpy's owner has made more than $100 million for Grumpy's appearances, modeling, book deals, and ads. His owner disputes that number, though, but won't say if it is too high or too low. But also on the list of some pretty wealthy pets is Moose, the Jack Russell who starred as Eddie the dog on Frasier, Keiko the killer whale, Rin Tin Tin, also on the list, along with all of the dogs who starred as Lassie, and Virgin America spokes dog Boo. I'm Lori Brooks. Be sure to get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update. Get more at animalradio.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio. Remember, there's two ways to get in touch with us. You can ask your questions directly through the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android, and it is a free download. Coming up in the news, Miss Lori Brooks, what do you have?
You know, all the high-profile recent deaths because of what's happening at groomers around the country. There may be some more pressure put on groomers, and we'll tell you how and more on that story coming up.
Oh, gee, I know, Joey, you're like on the cutting edge of that stuff.
Well, I actually sit on the New Jersey State Board right now with and we're working on licensing groomers. But the funny part about this is just about a week ago, in Vegas, we made a major announcement. The three major grooming associations, along with a few local groomers, including myself, Buckley Publications, and the AKC, have been working on, finally have announced and released a testing program for groomers in order so the states can license them and with the proper questions and to get these people more or less, understanding what is necessary. Now, it's not a it's not something that's going to tell you how to groom a Schnauzer or anything like that, but it's really safety and sanitation and equipment. It's the stuff that, you know what, that people have to worry about dropping their pets off, and that, you know, their pets are safe, and the groomers are safe as along the same lines. And this is something that's been worked on for a long time. We want to regulate our industry as well. We want it to be a professional industry. And I'll tell you, I know that there's been a lot of cases that you've heard about with grooming related deaths, but there were probably a lot more years past, just that you didn't hear about them as much with, you know, now with the media and the internet and Facebook and everything. You hear about it more often, but it's stuff that's been a problem for quite some time.
Oh, yeah. Well, you heard about the one a couple of months ago, the dog that was left in the dryer too long. And the story that keeps coming back, we've heard once or twice about ears actually being cut off and glued back on. Super glued back on. Very strange stuff in the industry. So what are other groomers thinking of this? I mean, they must hate you. First of all, you come on the radio and you tell all your tips and trade secrets, and then now you're trying to create legislation which will make them go through tests. Are they happy for that?
You know, I got to be honest with you. The ones that are generally happy are the ones that are running professional operation to begin with. Not that the ones that aren't running a professional operation. I think they don't understand the situation because it's not happening to them. So they're not experiencing it, and, you know, they're looking at this as one more because it's going to cost some money for a license. You know, just it's going to need to be funded somehow. But I think they're looking at it that way, not understanding that this is a problem nationwide. And the one that got me on board in New Jersey was Bijou's Law. And Bijou's Law, which right now is on the table, and this is the one that really started the wheels turning in New Jersey, was basically what happened was a woman brought her pet to one of the large grooming chains. And when she brought the dog there for the first time, the gentleman there said, "I hope your dog is good because I've had a bad day." And she said that she should have taken the dog back at that point in time, but she didn't think of it. She said she was a little uncomfortable. And 45 minutes later, she got a call to come pick up her dog, and when she got there, the dog was dead. They never divulged how the dog died. Matter of fact, she's still in the courts trying to figure that out. But obviously it happened under the care of the pet groomer. Now, kennel dryers and all of that, I mean, these are equipment that people shouldn't be afraid of, but the groomer needs to know how they're used properly. And unfortunately, there's no regulating, and you know, people can go out and buy these things and really have no experience using them. And it's really just paying attention. There's nothing more than that, paying attention to the temperature, how long the dog is in there, and watching the pet. But you know what? I mean, if you can just go buy these, it's like anything else. You can go out and buy a lawnmower, and if you stick your hand underneath the lawnmower while it's moving, you're going to cut your fingers off. Well, it's no different than with some of the equipment that you use in pet grooming. You just need to know how to use it.
All good stuff. Let us know how that goes, and keep us posted. Glad to have someone on the team that is legislating and is on really the cutting edge of that legislation. Let's go to the phones. Hi, Shirley. How are you doing?
Hi.
How can we help you?
Well, I have a cat. He's about 4 years old, and he eats his fur.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And then he's got from his belly on down no hair.
And is it just on his belly that he's chewing the hair out, or is it other parts of his body?
Well, his legs. All of his legs, no hair.
What kind of kitty what kind of kitty does he go outside?
We don't know. No. Okay. I know it has to do with the heat because when it was cold and in the winter, his hair all grew back. He did this last year.
Well, I'll tell you what, Shirley, I'm going to say it's probably not heat. But anytime we have a cat that's chewing their hair out, whether they're pulling it out in clumps or barbering it and kind of chewing it and licking it so it breaks off in pieces, number one thing I like to look at is really evaluate for potential allergies or other types of skin disease. So in areas where we have fleas, I always like to make sure we're doing really adequate flea control, even if they are indoors. So that's one very important thing to look at. But if we do see a seasonality to when he seems to have this problem, I would really look at allergies as a potential cause. And cats can be allergic to a lot of things. In a seasonal way, they can be allergic to pollens, grasses. A good visit to your veterinarian's in line to make sure we don't have those things, and that may require they do a couple skin samples, skin testing to evaluate that.
Alan Cable. Hope you're doing well. And now for your listening pleasure, a baby and a husky imitating each other. You know, a big consideration for most folks when they go out to get a new dog are the kids. So I'm going to tell you which breeds experts say are the best with kids. At number 5, the durable bulldog. He's got a sweet disposition and he tires out real easily. At number 4, a breed that seems to be disappearing. You don't see very many anymore, maybe because they're so energetic and they need so much exercise. The Irish Setter, one of my personal favorites. These guys are fun-loving comedians. They're really sweet dogs. But again, they need tons of exercise. The top 3 coming up after the husky and the baby go at it imitating each other again. Reminds me of that movie Ted with Mark Wahlberg. At number 3 on the list of best dogs to get when you have kids, the poodle. They're loyal, tolerant, and they shed very little. So they're a really good dog to get if your child might have allergies. Again, though, despite what Joey Villani says, research shows that dogs can be embarrassed. So please don't make your poodle look like Lady Gaga. We're counting down the top breeds that are great with kids. At number 2 on the list, the Labrador Retriever. These dogs are loyal, protective, and they love to play. They also come in 3 colors, white, black, and brown. And the number 1 best dog to get if you have kids, according to the experts, the Golden Retriever. Golden Retrievers are very loyal and patient dogs. You know how little kids are, and Goldens will put up with a lot. But it's still very important to remember, no matter what kind of dog you have, and no matter how sweet and loving he is, never leave your dog alone with your child. Your dog might not mean to hurt your child, but because he's so much bigger, it could easily happen. Thank you, baby and husky. This is Alan Cable, and next time, a great training technique. Remember, good dog.
I am the family dog, and it's that time of year again. The one where pet parents start looking for Fido-friendly hotels and destinations where Fido is welcome. Make no bones about it. Pets are part of the family, and we like to sniff out new places too, and we hate to be turned away, especially when we're on our best behavior. So we won't be left out in the cold. Be sure to pick up a copy of Fido Friendly Magazine to find the best hotels and destinations where Fido is always welcome. Go online to FidoFriendly.com and subscribe today.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
Dr. Debbie, what is the weirdest thing you've ever removed from an animal, would you say?
From their stomach.
From
that
their
they
stomach.
ingested.
Yes.
I think the weirdest thing was actually the mass of Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Glue. Wow.
Gorilla Glue,
Boy.
that strong glue.
Yeah.
Well, when it hits water, it swells. And dogs,
Oh,
if
my
they chew on the
God.
bottle, it'll get to their stomach and it actually expands exponentially and it'll fill their stomach up and dries.
Wow, I guess the dog is okay. I hope the dog is okay.
Yes, it was successfully removed. But yeah, it was huge. It was the size of a cantaloupe.
That is absolutely wild. You know, the story I was just going to come up here
Doesn't
with
compare now.
with the news. This is out of the paper. Doesn't compare, but a Labrador named Tiki has a unusual taste for hair bands. Apparently, a Pennsylvania veterinarian removed 62 hair bands and 8 pairs of underwear and a bandage from the dog's stomach during surgery. Dog wasn't responding to medicine for vomiting, diarrhea, and loss of appetite, so they figured something was going wrong there. So
Oh, who has 62 hair bands in their house?
I was just going to say, if I have to go shopping and keep buying hair bands, I'm going to say, who's taking them, man?
Yeah, where are they disappearing to?
What's up with that? Are any of your patients pigs? Do you have pot-bellied pigs?
Oh, yeah, we see a lot of pot-bellied pigs in my office.
Do you think they're pretty smart?
They are. They're very clever, and they have such almost human-like emotions at times. It's really kind of spooky.
Well, then you won't be surprised by our next guest, Dr. Lori Marino. She's the executive director of the Camilla Center for Animal Advocacy. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
So tell me, pigs, we often don't look at them as if they're very smart, and certainly not as smart as a dog or a monkey. What research is new that you can tell us about?
Well, what we did with our recent study was look at what we know about pigs and put that in a comparative context, try to understand who they are, not just, what they can do. And what we did is essentially look at the research on cognition, even self-awareness, social complexity, emotions, personality, and try to come up with an understanding of who they are and what kinds of research, non-invasive research, would help us to understand them even better.
Now, there are all kinds of pigs. I mean, there's the pot-belly pigs that, people use as pets, and then there's the big pigs on farms. Is this across the board, or is there certain, I want to say, breed or type of pig that might be smarter than another?
Yeah, because like a collie's a smart dog, but, there might be a dog that's not as smart. Is that the same for pigs?
Well, we certainly don't know enough about them to know that, but what we do know is that domestic pigs are all basically one species, and they are very, very close to their wild counterparts, wild boars. We don't really have any information about differences across breeds.
So tell us, what are some of the things that are getting us to think twice? I know that they have long-term memories. Do they have self-awareness? Do they know that they exist?
I think that the jury is still out on that from what we know, and what we're trying to do is stick very close to the data so that we don't start making claims that we can't back up.
Sure.
But there's some findings out there that suggest that they do have a sense of self, and I would be very surprised if they didn't. One of these studies had to do with what they do when they're confronted with a mirror, and as you know, there's the long history of some animals recognizing themselves in mirrors, chimpanzees and dolphins and elephants and so forth.
And my cats and dogs just try to attack it.
No, cats and dogs don't recognize themselves in mirrors. They clearly don't. That doesn't mean they don't have a sense of self, but in this particular way of probing it, they don't show it. With pigs, there have been a couple of studies, and in one of the studies, it was found that they can use a mirror to find food that's hidden from them. Wow. And that's interesting because that's using the mirror at a level very similar to what monkeys do. Uh-huh. Monkeys don't show mirror self-recognition, but they can use a mirror as a tool to guide their hand to hidden food or to find hidden food. So it suggests they know something about themselves, the mirror image, and their environment. And so that is a form of self-awareness, even though it's not, formally self-recognition. And pigs do other things, too, like they're able to use a joystick to move a cursor on a screen. Wow. And, when you think about that, that's a pretty sophisticated cognitive task, because you have to understand that if I move this joystick, it moves something else, and that something else then moves towards, say, a goal on the screen. What that's called in comparative psychology is self-agency, the ability to understand that your actions are intentional and can actually affect something else in the environment.
I was going to say they were smart enough to be a politician, but it appears that they're smarter than that.
Yes. They're at least smart enough to play video games, and I'm sure that's beyond the capacities of many politicians.
Okay, well, I've learned a lot about pigs today. Dr. Lori Marino joining us. If you want to learn more, head to the website farmsanctuary.org, and we'll put links to everything you've heard on today's show over at animalradio.com. Doctor, thank you so much for telling us about the pigs.
You're very welcome.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
We caught up with Dr. John Howe, certified aquatic veterinarian at the American Veterinary Medical Association convention in Denver. Dr. Howe does surgery on fish.
We take them out of the water, we put them in a bath that has the anesthetic in it, and we set them on a form so they're laying in the position we want them to, and we run a tube with water being pumped out of the anesthetic water into their mouth, flowing over the gills, so that keeps them anesthetized.
There's more at avma.org. That's avma.org.
This is
Animal Radio, baby. Thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing. If you've written a book, they can help you through the process, cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If they decide to publish your book, your work ends, theirs begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art,
Plus, get your book printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, and in bookstores across the country. They even help promote your book. Biography, self-help, mystery, novels, sci-fi, or even a children's book. No matter what genre, Page Publishing can bring your book to life. And don't forget to ask about audiobooks. We do all of this for you. Call today for your free writer's guide packed with tips, tricks, and templates to help you finish what you started.
800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. That's 800-215-6815.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
It's Animal Radio. Oh, the big guy just told you that. Is it Lonnie?
Laney.
Laney. Hey, Laney.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from beautiful Templeton, California.
Wow, just down the road now. Do you listen on KVEC?
You know, I don't. I don't get the channel. I don't know how to find it on the radio, and I really miss you people.
Okay, so you do you listen on XM? You don't.
I don't know what XM is.
But I understand you want to talk to Dr. Debbie. What's going on with your animal?
Yes. Well, several months ago, Tippy, who's a 12-year-old Tonkinese cat, all of a sudden didn't eat or drink. And then she started to lose a lot of weight. I got worried. I took her to emergency. And after numerous tests and everything, they said she had a high thyroid. And, you know, she almost died on me. I just really was. Anyway, so they had me put her on this ointment, methimazole.
Methimazole, okay.
Yeah, 2.5 milligrams twice a day. And then they said there's a special food, YD, that I could put her on, and I might be able to take her off the ointment medication. But she still is not gaining. She's still very, very thin, and she's active. She's doing okay now, but I don't know if there's anything else I can do. I just moved recently, and I don't know a vet, and I don't know what to do for her or what else to do for her except the ointment and the YD.
All right. Well, so in kitties, when we have thyroid problems, they have the disorder where they have too much thyroid hormone in their body, and it definitely will cause problems where we lose weight. We may have a very strong appetite but lose weight. They can have vomiting, diarrhea, even heart-related problems. So all of those kind of symptoms can be related to that. Now, once we know we have a high thyroid, there's a lot of different ways to deal with that. You've mentioned the medication. Now, the methimazole can be given in a pill form, and it sounds like you were given the transdermal form, the form that's absorbed through a carrier that you put as an ointment on usually on the ears.
Ear.
Yeah. So now there are some different controversies with methimazole. One is that transdermal, that route may help for some cats, but the absorption can be a little questionable. So giving that medication by a pill form or even having it made into a liquid can be a little bit more direct, that we know we're getting the dose in. And then with any of these forms with methimazole, we would want to recheck the thyroid level to see, are we getting that value down and making some meaningful changes to her body? If not, and if that value is still running really high, that's going to be why we're not doing well, and that's why we're not gaining weight. As long as that metabolism is revved up really high, we're not going to see your kitty gain weight. So, and then you mentioned some other ways we treat thyroid disease in cats. Instead of giving a pill or putting this ear medicine on, we can actually feed a diet. And it's a very, very restricted iodine level in the diet YD. And there is some encouraging information that may help to control kitties without needing any kind of medication. Right. With that, you still have to do the monitoring and still have to do that blood level to really see if we're making a good headway with that or not. But that's a good option if face it, some cats, pills and medication don't go down very easily. So that may be something to look at. Yeah. Now, and there are other therapies, and actually, if you have it in your area, there's a type of a radioactive iodine treatment that can be very effective in destroying the abnormal tissue in the thyroid gland and sparing the healthy normal tissue.
But it's very far away, Dr. Debbie.
Yeah, if you don't have it in your area, it can be tough. It also can be pretty pricey. It's an initial outlay in our area of about at least $1,000. But if it means no medication for the kitties remainder of their life, it can actually, in the long run, save you a lot of money on medications and so forth. The biggest thing I would say is, we need to make sure we get that blood sample to see where your kitty's, thyroid level is at this point.
Well, when I got the YD, they said to give her the YD or the Y diet and then wait 6 months and then bring her in for a blood test. Do you think that?
No. And actually, I've gone to some seminars on this really very recently, and we need to, within even just a matter of a few weeks, to be checking blood levels on a pet that's made that transition. Yeah. So it's not a food that replaces veterinary visits. So it's not going to take away the need to go into the vet. And during that time,
developed the high thyroid. I mean, she was well up until a few months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is actually it's actually one of the most common hormonal problems in cats.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it is not at all unusual. And in kitties that are over 7 years of age, this is one reason why I am very vigilant about doing annual blood work in cats over 7, because thyroid disorders are very common, diabetes, and kidney disease. Some of those are the most common things that by screening we can help to maybe pick up that trend of that thyroid level just starting to head up above a level of over 2.5, and that really gets us a little bit more excited about looking into that.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna say, knock on that veterinary door and let's see about having her rechecked, and especially watching that weight. If you're seeing her weight drop, then that's gotta get us all more encouraged about getting some lab work and seeing her.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, because I want her around. I don't want to lose her, and I just didn't know what to do moving here and not knowing any vets or any.
We can help you with that.
Not knowing where to go.
We can help you with that.
Really? That would be great. I appreciate that.
Hang tight for 1 second. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Hi, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where are you calling from?
Reading, Pennsylvania.
Reading. Oh, listening on WEEU.
Well, yes, I usually do in the morning, and that's one of the programs when I get up early. I just sit down, relax, and listen to what your folks have to say and share.
Oh, good. That's good to hear.
I've learned a lot.
A lot of people say they call in and they listen to the show because they can't change the channel.
The knob's
the radio's broken or they're, But it's good to hear that you're listening. What's going on in your world?
Well, I almost lost a dog to products that the FDA was aware were not faulty, were something that were making dogs sick. Dogs were dying, and I knew nothing about it, had no idea. And its package is Milo's Kitchen, and they were the small chicken meatball treats. And it says product of the United States on the front, and that's why I grabbed it. I truly thought it was a good product.
Now, we all know that China, as of late, has been distributing chicken treats that are, what do they cause it? What are the problems? Do they have salmonella, Doc? What are...
They really don't know, but really since 2007, they've been looking at this with the FDA, and jerky products have something in them, and particularly some of the ingredients are coming from China. Just like she's mentioning, it's not always a product that's produced primarily in China. They outsource the ingredients from China. And actually, in the last decade, China has become a majority of the producers for dog pet foods and ingredients. So this is going to be something, not maybe just with jerky treats, but we really need to be vigilant about watching with any pet products to see where they're sourced from.
So this package said that it was made in the USA. Is that correct?
Right, and it's not.
Well,
it
is made in the USA, but that's how they're skirting around it.
They are. It certainly does. And everything I've read, I've been reading so much because my little guy, he's a 4-year-old, normally very healthy poodle that I rescued, and he had a rough start. His life was 2 years in a cage before I got him.
And what happened after getting the treats?
Terribly sick. I mean, vomiting uncontrollably, diarrhea, and that went over a period of days. It didn't happen immediately. It happened over a period of about 7 days, and I did not pick up on this being serious. I thought, upset tummy. I had the flu, so I figured he was sick. Not thinking this was something serious, and I went to work. I'd given him 2 of the treats. went to work, came back after an 8-hour day, and had to rush a dog to a veterinarian's clinic because he was in very poor shape. And ended up with getting shots for the diarrhea, shots for the vomiting, fluids because he was severely dehydrated. His little body was just covered with his own vomit when I picked him up in the evening when I came home from work.
Did your vet know what was going on?
No, had no idea. And we were eliminating all kinds of things with x-rays and blood tests, and the urine came back with higher protein, which was an alarm button for her, and she explained why. I thought he had been poisoned. You know, he had been out in the yard in the morning, but I go out with him, and yes, dogs pick up things that they shouldn't, but I didn't see him do anything like that. Came back in, went to work, and came home to this terribly ill animal. And by a process of elimination, because he's on a good dog food, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of it, but it's a dry dog food. He's been on it for 2 years, no symptoms. But I added the treats. He got them for Christmas, and I start giving him these little, they call them meatballs, chicken meatballs. It's a moist product. It is packaged in a bag, and it has a chemical strip that you put in there so it doesn't spoil. Well, that was kind of an alarm for me, but I still trusted something made in the United States according to the package.
Yeah. And, you know, I've seen actually quite a few patients that have had illness after eating these type of jerky things. And I think it's important you mentioned that, you know, you were talking about a meatball type product. So a lot of people think, I'm feeding jerky. I'm not feeding jerky. I'm okay.
No,
well,
you're not.
You know, we've seen this with not just chicken-based jerkies, but also duck, sweet potato, and some of the treats that are just wrapped with, you know, the jerkies. And I've had pets where they have the digestive problems, vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, like you mentioned. But it will also go on to kidney failure as well. And that's where a lot of the deaths have been documented with the jerky ingestion. So, you know, for me, I think the bottom line is everything is suspect when your pet is ill. So for me, I have had clients that will come in and I used to say, you know, what's new that you're feeding your pet? And they'll say, nothing's new. I've been doing this for years. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. So you need to kind of spill it all out. So you're feeding this jerky product, this dry biscuit, this food, this canned food. And that for me has been a really big thing to really get to the history of some of these guys and to detect it maybe before we get, you know, horribly ill.
Okay, well, we appreciate your call today, Anna, and hopefully more listeners will find out about this and we'll save them from having any problems with their dogs.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your call.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it.
800-385-6247. 800-385-6247. 800-385-6247. That's 800-385-6247.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
We'll head back to the phones in just a second. Even Ladybug, the studio stunt dog, taking calls today in her usual chipper self. She is in a great mood. It's just like she's running things around here. Wacky Wednesday is just around the corner, and what does that mean to you? Well, if you're brand new to Animal Radio, Wacky Wednesday is where we ask you for your wacky pictures over at our Facebook page. You upload those little puppies, and the most likes and most shares pick up great prizes every single week. What do you have this week, Miss Francis?
I have one of my favorites. I actually have one of these, and I've tested it out. It is the Litter Genie.
Litter Genie, huh?
Yes, and a Litter Genie. You know, you've heard about the diaper genie for babies when you throw the dirty diapers away in this pail.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's equivalent to it, but it's for litter.
Yeah.
When you open up the unit, you put the litter in, but then there's a pull tray. You pull it out and it falls down into a second component. So you seal it off so you don't have the smell. It hides it away plus the smell. So I'm constantly cleaning the litter boxes, and I got bags and stuff all over the place. Well, this will hold up to 14 days for one cat.
Wow.
And you just put it in there, and it's great. You don't smell it. And, I want to say also, this is probably something that they didn't think about. My dog has an indoor potty for my dog.
Oh, so it's good for your dog, too.
So I use the poop. I pick up the poop from my dog and put it also in the litter genie.
So you collect all that poop. Do you do anything at the end? Do you compost it? Do you do anything with it?
No, I personally don't, but you can if you want. But it's got a bag that you just tie off, and then you pull down and make a new bag out of it. So you have several bags that will last you quite a while. And I've always wanted to try one of these. I think they're fantastic if you have to scoop the litter, and you can keep it right next to your litter box. It comes with its own scoop right there on the side, so you have everything you need, the scoop, the bags, and you can lock it away until that bag gets full, and you can remove it at that time.
And you're not an employee of Cat Genie.
No, I'm not, but this is one of those products that, you see it, and it's just like, wow. I mean, I've been scooping litter for all my life, and finally something that I can use and just kind of lock it away so I don't have to keep tying up those bags and stuff all day long.
If you're a cat lover, if you have a bunch of cats and you want the same excitement that Judy has
it doesn't take much for me
on her face right now, please upload your Wacky Wednesday pictures at our Facebook page.
I absolutely get it, Judy.
Thank you.
Do you have cats?
Always had cats.
I bet you wish you had Grumpy Cat.
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely.
We learned last hour in the news that Grumpy Cat is the wealthiest cat in the world at $100 million, although that can't be confirmed. And he passed years ago. He's not even alive anymore.
Wow.
Well, yeah, but then is Grumpy Cat really the wealthy one? No, Grumpy Cat's owner is.
Yeah.
Tabitha, what's her name?
Wow.
That is, and it's amazing because, what does Grumpy Cat do but just look grumpy all day?
Sit there.
Why don't I get millions of dollars for just looking grumpy all day?
Yeah.
I do that pretty well.
Yes, you do.
Then you said...
Well, I guess it all started when she posted a video on, what is it, Reddit?
Reddit.
It went viral, and in like 2 days, just everything started rolling.
There you go. Isn't it amazing? It's like the stars looked down upon her and said...
Right time, right place, right? Yeah. I wonder where she got that.
Internet fortune.
I wonder where she got that cat. If she got it from a shelter, if she got it from some private person. I bet they're kicking themselves.
I bet. Well, now here, Moose from Frasier.
Oh, yes. The little Jack Russell.
He played Eddie, right?
We played Eddie on Frasier.
Yeah. The
dad's dog.
So he's also on the list there, but he worked for his money. He worked very hard. He had a very illustrious career.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really interesting list. I actually found it on Huffington Post, and they didn't put them all in order. They just put all of these dogs that have made, or animals that have made their owners so much money. And it was interesting that the first Lassie's name was Pal. And at the time, that Lassie made $4,000 a week.
Wow, which was a lot at the time for a dog, especially.
Yes, but if it were starring in a series today, at that same rate, it would be the equivalent of, I think it was about $56,000 a week.
Wow.
Jeez. Can you imagine what Toto would have been worth? I'm serious, because Toto, they said, was the most famous movie dog in history. I just seen a thing on that. Can you imagine what he would be worth today?
Wow.
Or she. It's actually she. Toto, believe it or not, Toto was a she.
Well, there was only one Toto. There was like 1 million Lassies.
Yeah.
Which shocked me. Right. I was really shocked to find out that there was Lassie number 1, Lassie number 2, and
And Toto was a shelter dog.
Really?
All Spitz. Yep. Found it was his dog, and believe it or not, Judy Garland wanted Toto when she when after the movie, and they wouldn't give it to him.
Well, aren't we just a vessel of knowledge today?
I'm just learning so much.
I got 4 Karen Terriers, so I got a little history. Especially, my wife was a Wizard of Oz freak. That's why we got Karen Terriers, so I know a little bit about it.
What do you say we go to the phones for Dr. Debbie and Dogfather Joey Villani right now, directly from the Animal Radio app, the smartphone app for your iPhone or Android. Download it now. It has all the recall information, all the news you need, as well as you can listen to old shows, browse our resources, and most importantly, when you have a question at 2 in the morning that you want to ask the doctor, you'll have that app right there and you can ask. Not that she'll answer it at 2 in the morning, but
you never know.
First thing in the morning, she'll get back to you, I'm sure, on that.
Dogs or cats, horse or emu, animals are people too. When screams for help were heard outside a home in Trenton, New Jersey, police arrived to hear a woman screaming, "Help me, help me!" And when no one answered the door, they kicked it in, only to find not a woman, but a cockatoo. Owner Evelyn De Leon said it wasn't the first time 10-year-old Luna had brought authorities to their home. Luna went through a phase where he'd imitate a baby crying. Child welfare workers responding to reports of a possible abandoned baby showed up. De Leon said her bird is forever adding new sounds from watching TV. I'm thinking it might be a good time for Luna to take up reading books. I'm Britt Savage for Animal Radio. Animals are people too. Animal Radio.
You know, here at Animal Radio, the studio cats have been using the Armor Cat cat trees for 2 decades. And you know, cats need to scratch, claw, and climb. And unlike any other tree, Armor Cat furniture is strong, durable, and really reliable. Armor Cat's best-in-class cat trees and beds all come with 6-month warranties. Go to armorcat.com. That's ARMARKAT.com. And give your cat the tree they deserve. And get 15% off using the code Animal Radio.
This is an Animal Radio News Update.
Hi, I'm Lori Brooks. Pet ownership or pet parenting, which is becoming the more politically correct term, is not all kitten kisses and puppy love. And before you adopt a furry friend, please be sure you're ready for the financial responsibility that comes with keeping an animal alive and happy. Just like, you know, they release every year that index on the cost of raising a child. I've got one for you now on raising cats and dogs that focuses on the first year cost of having that pet when, you know, you have to acquire all of the things that they need. So that being said, the first year of being a pet parent to a cat, they estimate will cost you about $1,035. And for a dog, that number is a little bit more, $1,843 as estimated by the ASPCA. So dogs are definitely more expensive. And in my own opinion, after reviewing this study, more expensive than these numbers are saying. Because, you know, I will look at other pet parents too. And knowing my own spending habits, I spend, I think, a lot more than that. And my bet is that you do too. But bottom line, of course, it's worth every penny. Several high-profile recent pet deaths are highlighting the possible need for government regulation of the over $6 billion pet grooming industry. At least 3 states we hear, those being New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, are now considering laws to put rules in place in the largely unregulated pet grooming industry. Some changes are already happening as a result of those cases we just mentioned. Petco, for example, where one dog died while a kennel dryer was being used on it, says that type of kennel dryer the dog was housed in, it has been removed from service in all of their stores as a result of that case. I'm Lori Brooks. Be sure to get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update. Get more at animalradio.com.
Also in the news, I see today a very happy bunch of cockatiels. 32 cockatiels, in fact, have inherited $100,000 from their millionaire parents who just died. And apparently, I can't even imagine anyone having 32 pet cockatiels. No, that's a lot of birds.
Yeah.
And they will continue living in an aviary at their $4 million East Hampton home.
Whoa.
So there's some spoiled
Do
birds.
they need someone to care for them?
That's a spoiled little bird.
You want a pet sit, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I want a pet sit. Yep.
Well, that's awesome, though, to know that they're going to be taken care of.
Yeah, you know what my animals are going to get? Squat. Diddly. I have nothing. That's all they're going to get. I don't know if I'll outlive them. I know for you, Joey, your bird is, 30 years old, 35 years old?
It's somewhere. You know what? I don't know. I make up a new number each time. But let's put it this way. It's funny you should say that because I was at an outing yesterday and we were talking about Gurney. And I was 19 when I got Gurney. Gurney was 6 years old. And I just turned 50 last week. So you do the math.
Yeah, well, Gurney's going to outlive you. I hate to say that.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? I keep saying it's every man for himself. Once I'm gone, Gurney better figure out a way. You know what I'm saying?
He's probably working on it now.
Long enough. I took. I carried Gurney long enough. It's about time she goes on her own. Get out of the house. Get your own place, Gurney.
There you go. Get a job.
Yes, exactly.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now with the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
What's up, everybody? My name is George Lopez. I don't know how I became a crazy dog person, but I rescued Chihuahuas. Yeah, they rescued me from probably getting remarried. Come on. These dogs are incredibly helpful to all of our lives, and I think that's what it's all about. I'm glad they can't talk, though, because I don't need to have anybody know how many times I come down in the middle of the night for something to eat.
Please, always adopt dogs. Never buy them. And always spay or neuter.
And I want, and I need, and I
Vinny Penn, Party Animal, coming at you on Animal Radio. Today, a very important topic, naming your pet. Now, I'm an Italian. I don't know if you can ascertain that from the Vinny thing. And Penn is an abbreviation of a very long Italian name that I can't get into here. But when it comes to Italians have a very interesting way of nicknaming people, which you could actually find all of this out in my new book that comes out this summer. I don't mean to plug here during my radio time, but I do have a book coming out called The Guido's Credos, available at bookstores everywhere at the end of the summer. I hope you'll check that out. Check me out at www.vinnypenn.net. But I did have a routine in there or a chapter in there dedicated to how Italians come up with nicknames. If you're obese, your nickname is Tiny. That might be standard ethnicity notwithstanding. Interestingly enough, though, if your name is Frank, we're big on alliteration, we Italians, so your nickname might just be Fat Frank. It really depends on your name before we go with the nickname. But there's something about doing the complete opposite. If you're 6'7", your name is Shorty, unless your name is Tom, in which case you're Tall Tom. Really creative, we Italians. But nonetheless, it does kind of extend itself to the pet realm. If I meet one more ridiculously tiny sweater-wearing dog whose name is Thor, I'm going to lose my mind. Thor is reserved for Rottweilers, for Labs, and even there, it's kind of done to death. It's kind of the Jason in the human world, or the Luke. We have enough babies, we have enough dogs with the same names. If your pet is 3 pounds or so and sleeps in a hearth at the foot of your bed, and you take him out to him or her out in your pocketbook, here are some of the names you cannot name that tiny pet. Thor, as I said, Bear, King, Hulk, Orca. Choose a name that fits. At the same time, don't acknowledge the stature at all. Teensy weensy is really just kind of as annoying. And we all know to steer clear of the human names. Naming your dog or your cat is the most important thing you will ever do. They're going to respond to this name. You might want to try to make it a little unique. Steer clear of human names that have anything to do with their stature. If it's a white dog, doesn't need to be named Whitey. If it's a black dog, doesn't need to be named Blackie. Come up with something clever. Your favorite ice cream flavor. Here's Rocky Road. All right, what's wrong with that? Your favorite musician. Well, a lot of people do that Marley thing. That's kind of annoying in and of itself. All I'm saying is be creative. Pay homage to something that has affected you profoundly in your life, and don't be so obvious, and stop the Thors. As a matter of fact, I want to see if Animal Radio is going to get behind making T-shirts that has the name Thor in a circle with a slash through it. No more Thor. Vinny Penn, Party Animal, Animal Radio.
This is
Animal Radio, baby.
Audrey, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Where are you today?
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, lovely Tucson, Arizona. You're on with Dr. Debbie.
Hi.
Hi there.
I have probably a silly question. I have been told that the smaller parrots have a mentality of about a 2-year-old and the larger ones of about a 5-year-old. Well, I go out of town on private on Saturday, and I usually take my sun conjurer, small parrot, with me. And if I don't take her on Saturday, well, when I come home, she screams at me, and it's different than through the week. I work nights, so I'm there in the daytime, but occasionally I work in the daytime also through the week. And when I come home, if I work in the daytime through the week, she's just thrilled to see me and want to kiss me, and she's all excited. But on Saturday, it's like she's mad at me and screams at me. Is it possible that she knows at so many days or whatever that she goes with me, and if I don't take her, she's mad at me?
No, I want to clarify. She's mad. She's behaving this way before you leave her, or after a span of time when you've not been with her?
Oh, when I come home on Saturday afternoon, if I'm not able to take her with me.
You know, birds, and this will get a little sticky here, this conversation, because there's a lot of people that would argue that animals have the same feelings we do. But I would say that for definite, what she's doing is she has a pattern of learned behavior, and she may not know it's Saturday, but she knows that she's not as happy when you're not with her and she's not with you. So she may demonstrate some of that. I don't know if I could call it pouting or, those type of human words. But, if she doesn't have the same social stimulation, she doesn't have the same activity or mental stimulation, she might be acting funny. And, does she have feelings? Is she telling you that she's ticked off? That is the argument that animal behaviorists, pet owners would probably bonk heads on, because you ask any pet owner and they'll say that their pet feels the same feelings that we do. And I'd have to agree on that to some point. But the big question is, does she really understand what she's doing and trying to get even with you? I don't know about that. That's a tough call.
Well, she doesn't actually talk, even though she's capable of it, but I understand her body language quite well. And I can even tell people what she wants, and then when she does it, they're amazed. How'd you do that? Well, I understand her body language and what she's wanted.
Absolutely. It's just like a mom and their, infant child. You kind of learn what kind of triggers there are. And, I, to some degree, I think she's probably working you, just to make you feel bad. But, the humans in the household have to set the pattern of behavior and the rules.
Thousands of authors across the country have written books and published them with Page Publishing. If you've written a book, they can help you through the process, cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you. If they decide to publish your book, your work ends, theirs begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art. Plus, get your book printed, distributed, and sold on Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, and in bookstores across the country. They even help promote your book. Biography, self-help, mystery, novels, sci-fi, or even a children's book. No matter what genre, Page Publishing can bring your book to life. And don't forget to ask about audiobooks. We do all of this for you. Call today for your free writer's guide packed with tips, tricks, and templates to help you finish what you started.
800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. 800-215-6815. That's 800-215-6815.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio. Both Doc Halligan and Judy doing kind of air drums.
Air drums, yeah.
Woo! Yay!
Both of you are very, very talented. I'll tell you that
Thank
right now. A topic this week that is controversial whenever you bring it up, and it's all about vaccines. And, you can find one side of the camp that will say vaccines are the worst, don't do them, they can cause cancer. And then you'll find the other side of the camp that says you got to get every single vaccine done for your animals.
So what do you do?
It really isn't as controversial as you would think. There's a lot of miscommunication about it. So the fact of the matter is, every year cats and dogs die from preventable diseases that you can get your pet vaccinated for.
And what are those diseases?
So parvo, dog parvo.
Okay.
Every year, thousands of dogs probably die from that across the country.
And that's a shame because that's so preventable.
Feline distemper. Cats can get that and die from that. Feline leukemia is another one that cats will get and die from. Rabies is a big one. So these are all preventable. And, it used to be, I've been a vet for 27 years. Everybody came in every year and you got your pets vaccinated. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And when I graduated from vet school, I needed to pay the bills, and so I did these shot clinics, and people would just come in droves. So it was very common for pets to get vaccinated every year. Then the veterinarians in the schools that do research started doing testing to see, do pets really need to be vaccinated every year? Because babies don't get vaccinated every year, right? So people were questioning that. Now, the vaccine manufacturers only did studies for a year. They didn't do 3-year studies or 5-year or 10-year. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm not going to trust the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Yes, they want certain results.
If they did a study that showed that your pet didn't need vaccines for, it was good for 5 years, that would hurt them financially.
Yep.
Sure.
They only did 1-year studies. So the vet schools did studies. Lo and behold, these pets that were vaccinated properly had antibodies 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out, 7 years out, 10 years out. Yeah, people are like, wait a minute. So you're saying I don't need to vaccinate my pet every year? Well, technically, the vaccine manufacturer, since they've only done studies 1 year out, they have at least acquiesced now. There is a 3-year distemper that you can get for your pet. But that's where the confusion is. Now, I work at Marina Veterinary Center on the weekends. We do traditional and holistic medicine. We do not vaccinate every year. We vaccinate on your pet's lifestyle. And sometimes we won't do vaccines at all on elderly animals that, don't get out. We don't even vaccinate them anymore. And my own dog, Duke, who was the love of my life, I did 1 set and then that was it. I never vaccinated him again. Now, to be safe, what you can do is test your pet's titer. And what that does, you do a blood test and you can actually look to see, does my dog or cat have antibodies to feline distemper, feline leukemia, rabies? So, but the test isn't really cost effective yet.
Yeah. How much does something like that cost?
It's pricey. It's, $50 to $100 depending on the lab.
Okay, so for listeners, I just want to explain this once again. If you use this titer test, you do the blood test, you can check to see if the vaccine that they took a year ago still has antibodies, if it's still effective, or if you need another one. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Following along there.
So we can check, and I mean, the sad thing is the vets really kind of didn't buck the system because it was a way to get you to bring your pet in every year. And now what's happening is people aren't coming in at all. Now these pets are not getting seen for years. And, 1 year in their life is 7 years in ours. So if I haven't seen your pet in 3 years, that's like 21 years.
I wish I could be that lucky and not have to go to the doctor for 21 years.
Well, what are the problems that can happen from vaccines? People say that rabies, they won't get their rabies done because their animals get violently sick afterwards. I've heard about vaccine-induced sarcomas.
Unfortunately, your pet can die from a vaccine. They can go into anaphylaxis and die. Yes. Now, if you're at a veterinary hospital and that happens, it's usually quick and we can counteract it. It's when you go to these shot clinics, where you kind of do the shot and you leave, that could be dangerous. But typically it happens fairly soon. So that is one drawback, but the chances are very slim. We don't see it that often. The bigger one that we do see is, yes, animals can have, they can get cancer from the adjuvants that are in the vaccine, not the virus that you're injecting that's dead, but the adjuvants that keep it, in the solution and everything. That's what, for some reason, that can trigger cancer in cats especially. But now they're saying in cats, any kind of injection can trigger, like what you said, a sarcoma, which is a malignant, nasty tumor. I've seen them in practice, in between the shoulder blades, and it's horrible because the cats do end up usually dying because, it spreads. So that's why I don't know if you've noticed that we kind of universally give the vaccines in the certain limbs so that we could amputate a limb if that happened.
Really? Is that why you do that? I did not know
Yeah,
that.
that's why we're doing it. So we do the rabies right rear, and cats, the FARCP is right front, and the DAPP is right front.
Be sure to check with your vet what's needed, especially in your area, and what the laws are for your area where you live. Well, that's so good to learn all this stuff today. Thank you so much, Doc Halligan. And thank you all for calling in today. Remember, you can ask your questions during the week directly from the Animal Radio app for iPhone. Have yourself a great week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is Animal Radio
Network.